too bad. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Wilmington. I am Dan Wheat Rivers, and I am overjoyed to be joining Michael Sheridan, who's the co-chair of our social justice ministry and amazing leader for our congregation, on the chancel this morning. And we are so glad that Reverend Lisa, the head of UU Justice NC, is also joining us this morning. We welcome all of you to our worship service today. Whether you are here in the sanctuary or joining us online, we hope that this congregation is a sacred space wherever it may be. You will be strengthened by spiritual encouragement and find comfort from those who join with you in worship. As we enter worship, please take a moment to verify that your cell phones are muted if you are here in the sanctuary. To everyone familiar and everyone new to this congregation, you are welcomed with love. If you are in person, you are invited to stop by the welcome table in the vestibule if you would like to learn more information about this congregation, and visit the newcomer page on our website at uucwnc.org to get more acquainted with us. At this time, it is our custom that any visitors or folks who have been away for us a while, if you would like to introduce or reintroduce yourselves, you can stand and do that. And if you are online, please drop a line in the chat box. Is there anybody on this side that is new and would like to introduce themselves? Yes.
I'm Susie. I'm Lisa Key's sister from
All right. Welcome, Susie. Welcome.
I missed your name. What was your name?
Kim.
Welcome, Kim. All right. Anybody in the middle? Okay. And anybody on this side?
Hi, I'm Jessica Welch. Just here visiting my mom.
Welcome, Jessica. All right. And did I miss anyone? Oh.
Stand up for me and my daughter Charlie. I'm Sydney and this is Charlie. And my parents go to UU Church, but we've never been.
Welcome, Sydney. All right. Thank all of you for joining us in worship this morning. Please join us for coffee afterwards in Dobkin Hall, which is located at the back of the building down the hall. And now we've got quite a few announcements this morning. First up is Gary Barnes with a very important announcement from our Generous Life team.
Good morning. I have some very good news this morning. This is the last time you're going to have to hear me do an announcement, at least for a year. And I want to begin by inviting the members and consultants of the Generous Life team to join me if they're able. Heidi Kaufman, Mark Gettner, Scott Armstrong, Kimberly Scott, and also Barbara Williams, who can't be here this morning, Dennis McCulley as well, Beth O'Connell, who is back in our Zoom room, and John Grigsby, who is in the front office this morning. Now that we are all together, I want to announce the final results of this year's pledge drive. The drive began with a very ambitious target, $260,000. And in all fairness to the committee, it is an extremely high bar to try and reach. And I think it is the most this congregation has ever been asked to raise during our pledge month. And just a month ago, we asked you all to look beyond the congregation's survival and instead imagine a church that is thriving. Today, I'm proud to announce that we have raised $260,640. did it. I was going to say, please give a round of applause, but that would be redundant. Our success is due not only to the hard work of the GLT, but also to the commitment to our future that each and every member and friend of our church has demonstrated. Together, we look beyond the survival of the church and imagined a church that was thriving. 108 households contributed to the April Pledge Drive. Over the next year, it is critical that each of us fulfill our pledges. There is much work to do, but today we can all leave here knowing that we met our commitment to ensuring that our church will thrive. Just imagine what's coming next.
And now Gary O'Connell has some few words to say.
Good morning, everybody. I just have to say, there's so much going on in this congregation. I think about the Generous Life team just ran a fantastic pledge drive, thanks to your generosity, for the past 3 weeks. Just 2 weeks ago, we had the new member recognition that the membership team organized. Today, the Socal Justice team is organizing this service around our voting rights campaign. Next week, our new ministerial candidate will be here to meet us for the first time. And on May 19th, we're holding the special congregational meeting to call on our settled minister. It just seems like we're just flying through this year. So this morning, I want to ask you for a moment to pause and share in a moment of profound gratitude and reflection for our settled minister search team. Would the search team members please come forward and face the congregation as I call your name?
You made it sound like a firing squad.
That's right. You're going to get your due, whether you want it or not. Thea Hadjipanos, Daniel Wheat Rivers, Elizabeth McLeod, Cornelia Maxted, Sarah Jarvis, Bob Herudian, and Stephen Axhelm. For almost 2 years, this remarkable group of individuals has been on a journey of discovering an unwavering commitment. They have shouldered the weight of responsibility for finding our new minister with grace, wisdom, and resilience. As we reflect on the countless hours that they poured into this undertaking, we need to recognize the magnitude of their contributions. First, by conducting a survey, and then by holding a series of cottage meetings, they embraced diversity of thought, perspective, and experience to ensure that every voice in our community was heard, valued, and respected. They fostered a feeling of inclusivity, openness, and authenticity in order to engage us in a meaningful dialogue to define what we were looking for in a new minister. Then they developed all of the information required by the UUA, presented our church to interested candidates, evaluated candidate backgrounds and skills, made the trips to hear sermons, and they conducted all of the interviews, reference checks, and contract negotiations to get us where we are today. Throughout the highs and lows of this process, this team remained steadfast in upholding the values and principles that define our congregation. They have justified the trust we bestowed upon them with wisdom, discernment, and grace. So thank you, Settled Minister Search Team. Thank you for stepping forward to volunteer. Thank you for sacrificing your time, and thanks to your families as well. Thank you for listening to our needs. Thank you for bringing your skills to this task. Thank you for supporting each other, even as you challenged each other. Thank you for reaching consensus on every major decision in the process. Thank you for making us among the first congregations in the country to meet every deadline in this process. And most of all, thank you for getting the job done. Please know that starting next week, We will all be here to support you and Alyssa as we begin our new journey together. To each of you, we extend our deepest gratitude and appreciation. We ask you to join us for cake and coffee in Dopkin Hall following the service to celebrate your achievement. Please know that your work will forever change the direction and mission of this church. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Everyone, please rise as you are able, and as they return to their seats, let's show our gratitude once again to the UUCWNC Settled Ministers Search Team of 2023-2024.
And now, in solidarity with Unitarian Universalist congregations across the nation and around the world, we light our chalice with these words up on the screen by Paul Sprecher in his work, Struggle for Freedom. And Gail Wisniewski is our chalice lighter this morning. We light this chalice in memory of the courage of those who have struggled for freedom, the persistence of those who've struggled for justice, and the love of those who built beloved communities to carry on in light of hope. Now let us rise in body or spirit as we are able to sing hymn 1017, which is in the Teal hymn book, but also on the screen.
And now is our time for all ages. We invite all the kids to come forward.
And I have cushions up here, okay? So come on up, grab a seat. All right, y'all. This story today has a participatory element. You're welcome. It is called We Shall Overcome, the Story of a Song. So I invite kiddos down here and kiddos of all ages out there to sing along as you would like. Juliana, we got 2 seats over here if you want to sit on one. You know I got you cushions. All right, so we shall overcome, the story of a song. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I'll be all right someday. Back in slavery times, when enslaved people worked long days with no pay and no say, with no freedom, no fairness, no choice, and no chance, the people sang. They suffered, yet they sang to soothe the hurt, to fight the cruelty, to declare that, yes, they were human beings. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe I'll be all right someday. I'll overcome someday. I'll overcome someday. If in my heart I do not yield, I'll overcome someday. Y'all are good at this. It took a war, the Civil War, to end slavery, but even after, white people treated black people as less than fully human, excluding them, ignoring them, blaming them, and even attacking them, all because of the color of their skin. Black people were no longer slaves, it was true, but they were not truly free. Still, they believed things would get better. Still, they sang, "We will overcome. We will overcome. We will overcome someday." It wasn't easy to believe. It wasn't easy when white people shut out African Americans from good jobs and good pay, schools and libraries and neighborhoods, restaurants and hotels and bathrooms, train cars and bus seats, playgrounds and parks. But black Americans and some white Americans did believe they could overcome the unfairness, hate, and violence. They started to protest. They brought a church song, "I Will Overcome," to the streets. But since they were marching and working together, they sang, "We will overcome. We together will overcome." Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we will overcome someday. From the streets, the song reached the ears of city people, country people, followers, and leaders. It reached Martin Luther King, the most important leader working for justice for African Americans. He took the song with him in his heart everywhere he traveled. The words changed a little, but the spirit stayed the same. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, freedom someday. There were many forms of race hatred and many ways to fight it. Some students fought it by sitting down in restaurants and asking to be served. They didn't ask for free food. They didn't want special service. They just wanted to buy a meal like any white person could. The students sat and sat waiting for hamburgers, donuts, and sodas that never came. The students sat and waited until they were arrested. And as they were taken away to jail, they sang, "We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today." More and more people decided to stand up for rights for African Americans. One small group, the Freedom Singers, traveled 50,000 miles in 9 months to living rooms, concert halls, elementary schools, jails, high schools, and rallies, bringing "We Shall Overcome" to people in 40 states, inspiring them to believe that change was coming. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone today. The biggest gathering of people united in support of fairness for African Americans took place in the nation's capital. Marching toward the Lincoln Memorial, hundreds of thousands of people, black and white and young and old, joining hands, joined voices, and sang, "We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday." Just to clue, this one is read, not sung. Just slowly, things were changing. Laws were passed, but race hatred stayed strong, even stronger than laws. So President Lyndon Johnson gave a speech. His ancestors once held slaves in Texas and Georgia, but President Johnson looked out at the millions of people watching him on television, spoke of equal rights, human rights, and voting rights for African Americans, and recited the words of the song, "We must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice, and we shall overcome." How could such a song stay in one country? It could not. "We Shall Overcome" sailed across the oceans to other countries where people faced injustice. It traveled to South Africa, where Black Africans embraced it as their own freedom song in their long struggle against an all-white government that treated them as outcasts in their own land. Black and white together, black and white together, black and white together someday. We will live in peace. We will live in peace. We will live in peace someday. The song traveled to India, East Germany, South Korea, Czechoslovakia, Northern Ireland, Bangladesh, China, the Middle East, South America, where people worked for a better life. Even as it spread across the globe, the song never really left its American home. It took a very long time, but race hatred did grow weaker. Freedom grew stronger. President Lyndon Johnson was followed by another president and another, and another, and another, and another, and then the people of the United States, black and white and young and old, elected an African-American man to be their president. On that day, people sang the song that so many voices had sung before in pain and in protest, but on that day, they sang in happiness. Oh, deep in my heart, Today, people still struggle against hatred and for freedom, against poverty and for fairness, against despair and for hope. We still sing. We sing to declare that, yes, we are all human beings, deserving of respect, sharing the same planet, the same future, together. Thank you for your participation. And now join as we sing our kids out to the class where we are making May Day items.
Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love, where never kings connive, nor tyrants scheme that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be the land where every man is free. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on people's lives, we must take back our land again. America! Oh, yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath. America will be.
There are days we wish would never end because they are so wonderful, and there are days that cannot end too soon, for they are so hard. Sorrow is the mortar between our happiness. We take this time to recognize those good days and the hard ones. You are now invited to come to the front and light a candle or place a shell in the Riverstone fountain. If you are online, please feel free to enter your personal joys and concerns in the chat box. And as our friends come forward, let us sing our compassion to them with hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. And now I'll light one more candle for all those joys and concerns and sorrows that are still too tender to be shared just yet.
Beloveds, I now invite you all to join me in a moment of prayer. This prayer is written by Sean Wilshire. Usually we pray for people, for their hopes, their fears, their loves, their health, and happiness. Today, we pray for democracy, for democracy has hopes too, that all voices shall be heard. Democracy has fears too, that it may be overturned and oppressed. Democracy has loves, that all beings have a voice. Democracy has health, that all who can vote do. And democracy has happiness, when we trust her, and when we honor her, and when we lift her up. Today we pray for democracy. We pray that leaders will come forward to defend her, and that people will rise up to defend her, and that you will defend her in whatever way you can. Let us stand always in solidarity with democracy, for she is us. Amen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Michael Sheridan, and this isn't in my written words, but I just want to start by saying I just love this congregation. So I noticed that I was getting increasingly anxious as the days of last December were going by, and it wasn't about getting my Christmas shopping done. I was anxious because we were heading into 2024 and the November election. Does anybody else have some anxiety about this too? Can I see your hands? Am I not alone? Yay, great. So much is at stake. The UU values of fairness, justice, equity, inclusion, interdependence, love, and belief in the democratic process. These are the reasons I am a UU. These are the values that reflect my deepest hope for the world. And I'm anxious that these will not be the values that are reflected back to me after the voting is done in November. Like Langston Hughes, I long to see America be America again. Or more accurately, I long for America to become the America we dream of, where everyone counts, where no one is left out, where there is no hierarchy of who is seen as deserving or worthy or American enough. UU Minister Peggy Clark reflects that as much as we'd like to say we've been a democracy since 1776, we have mostly been a democracy in progress until the passage of the Voting Rights Act in 1965, which codified the right to vote for every American citizen, including Black Americans, finally. With its passage, the US became a beacon for democracies, both realized and struggling around the world. With our system of government standing on a strong foundation of laws, supported by our people and our institutions, we thought we had this democracy thing nailed down. Well, as you probably know, the Voting Rights Act was severely weakened in 2013 with the Supreme Court's ruling in Shelby County v. Holder, and it faces even more dire threats today. and many are warning that our democracy is on a downward slide. One of the markers of this slide is the Polity Index, which is an international measurement of democracy in governments and cultures. The United States dropped below the democracy threshold on this index in 2020 and was labeled an anocracy. What is an anocracy? It's defined as, quote, a regime that mixes democratic with autocratic features, end quote. We also lost our designation as the world's oldest and most continuous democracy. Switzerland now holds that status. The 2020 analysis went on to state that the United States was at high risk of impending political instability, including, quote, adverse regime change and/or onset of political violence, end quote. Does this sound familiar? January 6th, anyone? Our Polity Index score did return to democracy status in 2021 after the last election, but I'm very worried that depending on the outcomes of the 2024 elections, we may fall below the democracy threshold again, perhaps even lower than before. Other markers of the decline of democracy in the United States include the web of voter suppression laws and policies that we see across the country, including right here in North Carolina. These include extreme gerrymandering of voting districts, restrictions of early voting hours and sites, a shortened window for mail-in voting, increased and unfair efforts to purge voters from the rolls, and more restrictive voter ID laws, just to name a few. David Pepper, lawyer, writer, former elected official, and presenter at a recent UUSJ Democracy Action Team workshop, has written 2 books about all of this, which I strongly encourage everyone to read. The first is right here, Laboratories of Autocracy, which details all the strategies of the anti-democratic forces operating within the United States today. I thought I was fairly savvy about all of this, but after reading Pepper's book, I realized I was just a babe in the woods. He urges us to wake up to the fact that the most recent attack on democracy began long before the 2016 election and has continued ever since. He points to a full state level, i.e. North Carolina level, agenda to erode democracy, which involves not only the voter suppression tactics I've already mentioned, but things like attempts to rig the state constitutional amendment process, work with private organizations to ghost write laws, so the legislators don't have to write them, to protect private interest over public needs, promote various tactics to make it more difficult and costly for college students to vote, organize efforts to attack unions, employ the 2080 strategy. That one is a real doozy. You really need to read about it. And so much more, all of which has led to an avalanche of extremism with very real life consequences that we see today, like the loss of reproductive health rights and access to IVF fertility treatments, the erosion of LGBTQ+ rights, book banning and censoring of history, elimination of DEI training, defunding public education, erosion of climate protections, and so on, and so on, and so on. So you depressed yet? Luckily, he wrote a second book, which I also highly recommend. It's called Saving Democracy, which he wrote in 2023. In this, he outlines both the short-term and long-term actions we need to take if we want to hold on to our right to vote and not become a full autocracy. This fight is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. But we can begin now with this upcoming election. Step 1 is to participate in this election by voting for democracy up and down the ballot, from local boards of education to state races to the presidential race. I'm using 3 criteria for my vote. 1, is this candidate aligned with my personal and UU values? 2, will they uphold and fight for the democratic process? And 3, are they out to serve the people or just maintain their own political power? And one more point. When I was early in my voting career, I once voted for a third-party candidate. After I helped usher in the worst possible outcome by doing that, yeah, exactly, Cammie, I regretted my decision. I learned that I don't have to love everything about a candidate to support democracy, and I can hold that candidate accountable once they're in office. My dear fellow congregants, North Carolina, if you didn't know, is considered to be a potential swing state this year. So please, please do not throw away your vote. Now, as UUs, I'm fairly confident that you're already on board with voting yourself. I do believe it's a requirement to sign the book, isn't it, Reverend Lisa? Okay. But for this election, and all the elections to come, we need to go beyond this base level step. We need to ensure that everyone is energized and no one is blocked from this core civil right, which is why we, in partnership with Reverend Lisa Garcia-Sampson and UU Justice NC, are launching, can we have a drum roll somehow? The UUCWNC Supporting Democracy and Voting Rights Initiative. Ta-da! So here you will see a listing of various actions you can take between now and November. They're also in the handouts you found on your seat, along with some information from Reverend Lisa. You will see that actions are listed as either Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3. Ranging from relatively quick, we've got one for you later that's literally 10 minutes, and easy to do actions that require more actions to ones that require more time and commitment. You're also free, of course, to take other pro-democracy actions with other partners, which you can enter as other on our reporting form. More about that in a minute. There will be information about all of these actions distributed in a timely way from now until November. And for several of these, there will be free training provided as well. And we're going to have a democracy party in September. Woohoo! As Reverend Lisa says, joy is a radical act. So having fun is part of this initiative too. And on top of all that, we're receiving financial support from Reverend Lisa and UU Justice NC to help us with some of these efforts. Thank you. So please read the digest, please, so you know what's going on and you can participate. As congregants, you're often asked to give of your time, talent, and treasure. Well, this congregation already stepped up with the treasure part during our GLT campaign, that was so fabulous. And now we need to step up with our time and talents too. We are setting a lofty goal of 500 for this democracy and voting initiative. We have approximately 200 plus members and friends in this congregation. If we each do our part, we can get to 500 or even higher by November, which we will be keeping track of. I believe there is a voting ninja a democracy ninja in the house. Is she here?
I will be the ninja.
Where did she go? She's been planning this for such a long time. I hope she's okay. Anyway, oh, here she comes. Here she comes. Ta-da! And the voting ninja has asked me to read this poem she wrote. See, we're laughing already. Okay, having fun. The democracy ninja's job's to promote the rights of all people and to get out the vote. The mission is based on decency and fairness to open up minds so folks vote with awareness. This ninja's not violent, but will put up a fight to inform local voters and restore people's rights. Join with the ninja and lift up your voice presenting the facts. We've been hijacked. The fax is our weapon of choice, yes. Ta-da. And here's our thermometer, okay? Thank you, Democracy Ninja. To reach our goal, it's really important that you not only act, but also report that action. And here are 3 easy ways to do that. There are action forms and a collection box in the lobby. You can also submit your action online using either the URL link or the QR code. So we've come into the 21st century. You can just point your phone at that code. It's really important that you report each and every action that you take. It's really a short form, I promise, only 4 questions. So please, please do this. We're hoping to announce in November that we've met our goal and can celebrate it like we're celebrating the success of our GLT campaign today. So one more thing, I want to bring your attention to an action you can take right now, just this afternoon. We all know how important early voting is, right? Which is why advocating for policies to support early voting is critical, and why it is one of our Tier 1 actions highlighted in yellow here. In both New Hanover County and Brunswick County, the meetings to determine the schedule for early voting has already occurred. They moved them from August to May. But the good news is that there was not a unanimous vote in either county, and the majority in both counties supported the full 17 days of voting, including Saturdays and Sundays. Why is this good news? Well, this is good news because it means the county plans must now be sent to the State Board of Elections for a final determination. We have a good chance of getting the full 17 days of early voting in both counties, as it only requires a majority vote at the state level, not a unanimous one like at the local level. And the 5th person is appointed by the governor. This means we still have time to make our voices heard by sending a brief email, and we're making it really easy for you. We have a sample email and specific information on where and when to send them, which you can get right after service from one of the members of our democracy voting team. Please stand up, folks, so they have the forms. So please take this first simple step to support democracy and voting. And when you do, remember to complete the action form, either here in church or online. You just do a check right there. So finally, we've unapologetically stolen this wonderful quote that Bill Singleton shared with us last week as our slogan. You can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to show up. So Bill, you are now an honorary member of the Social Justice Ministry. Thank you. So friends, we can either sit in our anxiety and wring our hands, or we can stick our heads in the sand, or we can drink more wine, or we can take action. We have a plan, we have a reporting mechanism, we have resources, and we have a slogan. All we need now is you. And if you need some real inspiration, let me turn this now over to Reverend Lisa.
Good morning, everyone. I'll try to keep this brief. It is such a joy to be with you all today. I've been smiling so much my face is hurting right now. As Michael said, I'm Reverend Lisa Garcia Sampson. I proudly lead our UU Justice Ministry here in North Carolina, and we have the privilege of working in partnership with over 24 UU congregations across North Carolina, representing 5,000 UUs. And in 2024, We are ready to make UU the Vote the largest activation of UUs in the history of our state. Are you ready? Michael has already outlined the issues but beyond preserving our democracy, there is so much at stake. I know that many of you know 2023 was an incredibly difficult year in North Carolina. Last year, our legislature passed a monster abortion ban, which has had a ripple effect across North Carolina and throughout the entire South. 3 anti-trans and LGBTQ bills became law, including a Don't Say Gay bill and a ban on gender-affirming care for minors. We witnessed the continued dismantling of our public schools at both the policy and funding level, and as Michael said, we can go on and on and on. The good news is, as Michael has just showed us, is that we have a plan. And even more so, the good news is that we belong to an abundant, loving movement in North Carolina that is building relationships and trust and power from the mountains to the ocean, from our cities to our rural communities. This is the movement that, after a decade of fighting, last year finally expanded Medicaid to over 600,000 people in our state. People said it was never going to happen, but we kept fighting, and UUs played a critical role in getting it over the finish line. That is the power of our movement. It is a movement that is fighting to win $4.4 billion in desperately needed funding for our public schools in North Carolina. And it is our movement in 2024 that will register voters and educate voters and turn out voters, because the majority of people in North Carolina want reproductive rights and want LGBTQ rights and want a strong democracy, and we are not going to stop fighting until we get it. Last month, I had the privilege of participating in Blueprint North Carolina's 3-day convergence, bringing together over 80 progressive, nonpartisan organizations. The theme of the convergence was, "This is our time." Together, we co-created a shared political analysis and committed to shared goals and strategies for this year's electoral cycle. I mention this to say that this year, our statewide UU the Vote campaign and the list of actions that Michael has just provided with you are strategic and they are impactful. They are what those who are most expert in this work and those who are most directly impacted have asked us to do. In our voter registration work, our phone banking, our poll protecting work, we are living into the highest values of our faith, and we are contributing to our larger movement strategies. And we are doing so also in our Tier 1 actions, like our beloved postcarding campaign. I am so excited for your postcarding democracy party in September, but real talk for a second. For most of us, postcarding should be like the appetizer before the meal. Today's action is the appetizer before the meal. This year, our moral legacy is on the line, and if you can do more than postcarding, you have the moral responsibility to do so. It is time to go deeper. I urge every one of you to find at least one thing on the Tier 2 or Tier 3 level of activity to do this year. I want to end with a story. In General Assembly, in our UUA General Assembly in 2019, our UUA President Susan Frederick Gray said, quote, "This is no time for a casual faith." And she challenged us to reach out to 1 million voters in 2020, challenging us to UU the Vote. I know Susan, I have heard her tell this story many times before, and she says that as soon as that ambitious goal came out of her mouth, there was a part of her that wanted to put it right back in, because it was so scary to so publicly set an ambitious goal like that for a relatively small denomination like ours. Michael, having just announced your 500 action goal for 2024, can you by chance relate to that feeling? Yes. Yeah, I thought so. This is what bold and courageous leaders do. And bold and courageous communities rise to meet that challenge. to meet the moment. I know you've already filled up one thermometer this month. Are you ready to meet that 500 action challenge? By the way, I invite you to join UUs across the state next Tuesday, May 14th, for our official North Carolina UU The Vote launch. You can register at uujusticnc.org. I have invited Michael to speak at this event to share your congregation's goal. You have set the standard for congregations in our state, and I hope that others will meet you there. So please invite fellow congregants to join us. Let us inspire the rest of the state to demonstrate the power and the commitment that UUCW has done today. If you don't know how the rest of the story of Susan Frederick Gray goes, let me tell you. In the end, it turns out that President Susan Frederick Gray was right to question that goal of reaching out to 1 million voters. Because you see, by October of 2020, we had already reached out to 3 million voters. That is the power of our faith. UU The Vote has gone on to become the largest activation of UUs in the history of our faith, and we are a part of it. Each and every one of us is a part of it. Beloveds, this is no time for a casual faith. This is no time to be stuck in fear or despair. No, this is a moment to interrogate the limits of our imagination for what we can do together. To lean into the loving movement, this loving, abundant movement in North Carolina that is more powerful than we can even imagine. It is time to believe, to really, truly believe that this is our moment and we are ready. May it be so. Amen. We now have an additional 60-minute presentation.
As we are fighting for democracy, we also continue to use our gifts to help those around us. Thanks to your generosity, recently we donated $612.11 to the Coastal Horizon Center. And thanks to the vision of our great STP team, our STP recipient, or Share the Plate recipient, is UU Justice NC today. We all have been shown how we can make a difference to ensure our democracy will endure after the 2024 election. Let's make a difference by donating to the efforts of UU Justice NC, led by Reverend Lisa, with congregations and other social justice groups in the state. UU Justice NC is organizing across the state to educate voters of crucial issues both locally and statewide, to get out the vote and to ensure fair elections. Let's share our treasure, spend time on initiatives, and let our talents shine by being part of the solution. Will the ushers please come forward to take the offertory? Now let us rise in body or spirit to sing hymn number 170 in your gray hymnal. And if you're looking at the hymnal and not the screens, we have changed in the refrain singing to voting.
So before we close, I'd like to thank everyone who made this service possible this morning, starting with Reverend Lisa, who gave us some inspiring words. It's just always so wonderful to have you here.
The pleasure is always mine, I assure you.
So I also want to thank Lisa Keating for the wonderful music. Reverend Kelly for sharing that really touching story today for all ages. Twink and Jennifer as our greeters this morning, and Joanne Skinner at the welcome table, Beth and Cammie as our ushers, Thea for being our room verger, and Ed and Beth back in the closet for our Zoom vergers. And all the folks who helped out with RE today, and Bill and Kim Singleton for hospitality, which we'll have very soon. And I personally want to thank the members of our democracy voting team, Dan, Cammie, Beth, Twink, Jennifer, Pat, Gail, and Pam. And of course, an additional thank you to Dan for being such a wonderful worship associate. So for anyone who wants to hear more about our democracy voting initiative, go get coffee, have a piece of cake, celebrate the search team members, but then come back here because Reverend Lisa's going to hang out and we can talk, okay? And now from our closing words from Nikki Giovanni, which will be on our screen.
It's not a hug, nor mistletoe at Christmas. It's not a colored egg at Easter, nor a bunny hopping across the meadow. It's a vote saying you are a citizen, though it sometimes is chocolate or sometimes vanilla. It can be female or male. It is right or left. I can agree or disagree, but, and this is an important but, I am a citizen. I should be able to vote from prison. I should be able to vote from the battlefield. I should be able to vote when I get a driver's license. I should be able to vote when I purchase a gun. I must be able to vote if I'm in the hospital, if I'm in the old folks' home, if I'm needing a ride to the polling place. I am a citizen. I must be able to vote. Folks were lynched. Folks were shot. Folks' communities were gerrymandered. Folks who believed in the Constitution were lied to, burned out, bought and sold because they agreed all men and women were created equal. Folks vote to make us free. It's not cookies nor cake, but it is the icing that is so sweet. Good for the folks, good for us. My country, 'tis of thee.
All right, and please join me now as we extinguish our chalice with the words you'll see on the screens. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now, as we do every week, let's end our service with shalom by joining hands across the aisles.